Today I'm going to show you how to make some of my favorite cheese and chicken chimichangas. This is going to be good. Okay, the ingredients I'm using today for the filling are chicken breast, a block of softened cream cheese, seasonings and spices, a little chicken bouillon powder, and it's all going into my crock pot. So in goes the chicken. I'm going to add like a tablespoon of chicken bouillon. And you could boil your chicken. I've been using this crock pot method. It's so convenient. Here I'm going to add some onion powder. I'm also going to add some cracked black pepper, and be sure to season this how you prefer. Here I have some garlic powder going in, and I'm eyeballing everything. I'm also going to add some smoked paprika right on top of the chicken. This is kind of like a dump and go recipe. Here I'm adding the softened cream cheese, and even if it's kind of cold, it'll soften. It's going in the crock pot. And then now that that's in, cover with a lid. I'm going to set it to high and cook until the chicken is cooked through and tender. It's like 4.5 hours. Once it's done, you can shred right in the crock pot and mix it. I actually had to remove some of the rendered broth from the crock pot. I left a little bit in, but look how tender this is. I'm just taking tongs. I'm going to shred and break it apart and mix it in with the cream cheese. By the way, you definitely can use rotisserie chicken and take that off the bone and shred it. You can boil your chicken. Essentially, you're working with about 1.5 pounds of cooked shredded chicken. Here, I'm going to add a can of green chilies. You can add extra if you like. Give that a mix and taste it for salt and seasoning. Adjust to your preference, and this is the filling. This is done. So this next part, you can actually buy burrito-sized flour tortillas from the store. I'm making mine from scratch today, and I'm actually going to eyeball all of these ingredients. But I have done several soft flour tortillas on my channel. I will link one or two below. If you do use my recipe, you can divide the dough into about 6 to 8 dough balls, and that should be about the right size to give you a 10-inch flour tortilla, which works perfectly when you're rolling and wrapping up these chimichangas. So I had my flour. I'm eyeballing baking powder right into the bowl. Here I have some salt. And again, this is what I do when I'm not filming. And here I have rendered bacon fat from 12 to 16 ounces of bacon that I cooked, and I saved the fat going in. I'm also going to be adding hot water. But first, I'm going to mix this. I'm kind of getting ahead of myself because I really am trying to make these and be done. Okay, so I'm going to pour some of the hot water into the bowl where the bacon grease was at, just to get any bacon grease that stayed behind. And I'm going to add water little by little until the dough comes together. I will, like I said, link my soft flour tortillas recipe, which has more accurate measurements. It's also in my cookbook, by the way. I will link that as well in the description. So I'm just going to give this a mix first with this wooden spoon. Why not? I used it for the bacon grease. And then I'm going to go in with my hands until it comes together like this. And then once it comes together, I'm going to knead for about 10 minutes on the countertop. And if you do this right, it's not going to be too sticky, so you probably won't need extra flour on the work surface while you're kneading. But if you do, sprinkle some flour so it doesn't stick. But it still should be soft and slightly tacky. Okay, so now I'm just going to section these off into dough balls. I'm going to do some large ones for the chimichangas, and the extra dough, I'll make them smaller for my sons. You could also just portion out the dough balls and roll them, but I like the tuck and turn method. It's just what I grew up with, making tortillas with my grandmother. So once I have all of these divided, it's going to go right back into the mixing bowl here. Okay, so I have all of them divided, and now I'm going to just let them rest and place a damp paper towel right over them so they don't dry out. And you'll want to let them rest for about 20 minutes or so. Now it's time to roll them out, dusting my work surface, dusting the rolling pin, and then I'm just going to show you here. This is like the larger dough balls, and I also made smaller ones just for comparison. But like I said, I kind of eyeballed everything today and I'm just trying to make these chimichangas quickly. Okay, so I'm going to roll this out. Use the best technique that works for you. If you can get it even in a square shape, that works. It doesn't have to be perfectly round. But this is the larger one, so really what I'm looking for is about 9 to 10 inch round flour tortillas. That'll make these chimichangas like a regular size. Okay, so this is rolled out, and what I do once I roll out the dough balls, I just like to hang it over the side of the bowl, and you want to let it rest. Once I get around 4 or 5 rolled out, I'll start to cook them. I used to like to use my cast iron skillet, but here I have this like round large griddle, and it really helps when you're making larger flour tortillas. And you just cook it until it bubbles up on both sides and cooks through, and place it in a towel or something to keep them warm and pliable. Okay, so now it's time to put these together. Take a tortilla and then just add your filling, maybe like a 1/4 cup to a 1/3 cup of the filling. Here I have some shredded Colby Jack cheese. Add that and then give it a tight roll, and you tuck in the sides and then continue the roll, and that is how you roll these chimichangas, basically like a burrito. So I'm going to repeat the process for the rest of my tortillas. Okay, preheated oil, and I'm going to fry these. Sure, you can bake these. Sure, you can do it in the air fryer. But I feel like deep frying them today, well, this is actually more like a shallow fry. I'm going to flip them at some point. But this really gives you that crunch for the chimichangas. Okay, so time to flip. And you can see I have some hot spots in my pan here. But really, you're just looking for a golden brown color. And then once you flip it and fry it on both sides, it's done. And that is how I make some of my favorite chicken and cheese chimichangas. And you can top, sauce, dip these how you like. A lot of people like fresh ingredients on top. Some people like to pour cheese on them like I do. Or I have a chimichanga recipe where I like to dip it in this guacamole sauce that I make. It's so good. So I'm putting these on a baking sheet with paper towels. And you want to sort of let them cool before you dig in because they will be very hot. And I actually have other chimichanga recipes where I filled it with ground beef and sometimes beans. It's really good. But I want you to hear how toasty and crispy the exterior is. So I hope you give this recipe a try. I hope you like it. And thanks for watching.